These are primarily the three mistakes writers make when it comes to copy for the service sections. Hi, Tanamoy and Deo. I would say this is the best service section that I've ever seen. And I don't feel that's an exaggeration by any extent. Undoubtedly, this is the best service section that I have ever seen. So what I want to do in this video is, because it is so important and it's something we have struggled with for so long, is just to code why this is so much better than what we have historically done up to date. Hopefully, therefore, reinforce the principles, because now everybody can see a tangible example of what it should look like. And that hopefully aids the learning process and makes that contrast between what is pseudo content and real content salient. Now let's compare this. Now look at this. Look at software development. Get bespoke software from VE's dedicated software developers who are adept in all kinds of software development, such as Python, Java, blah, blah, blah. Look at mobile app development. Get your web and mobile apps developed, designed, and tested here by VE's IT experts. From concept to support, VE's mobile app developers can reduce your time to market drastically. Now compare that to what we have here, right? Why is this so much better? Well, there's a few things that's wrong with this. Let's just start what's wrong with this. The common themes of what is wrong with this pseudo copy. One, it's claim-based. It's making a claim. Get something. It's a claim and it's a promise. I'm just promising you something, and I'm claiming that I can help you achieve that promise. Those two we cannot do. We cannot make claims and we cannot make promises. The second thing it does is it's chest thumping, right? It's qualification based. We have these skills. It's kind of resume orientated approach. These are primarily the three mistakes writers make when it comes to copy for the service sections. It'll always be a promise, a claim, and then just some chest thumping that, hey, we have these skills or we have these qualifications. And that's why it fails, because none of that is credible. None of that is appealing. None of that is believable. None of that is convincing. None of that is persuasive. I can smell a rat, so to speak. I can smell that you're potentially trying to pull the wool over my eyes when we divert to those three methods. Now, why is that? Well, it's because if you were an expert, you would be able to speak about the ecosystem. But you would know more than this if you were an expert. Intuitively, we understand that. What you have to understand, team, is that in some respects, we can reverse engineer marketing from just the way humans behave in their day-to-day lives. So, for instance, when you go to see a doctor, if a doctor starts to tell you something, or a lawyer starts to tell you something, let's just say you're at a wedding and you're seated next to somebody and they start telling you about their line of work. We all have this BS radar detection system. That's what you must understand. Human beings are inbuilt with this, because this is the only way you can survive in life. Because there are, individuals out there that are not always of the highest integrity. So we've accumulated this intuition and this ability, this lie detector. We have, all of us, all human beings have this, some better than others, but we all have this. So when you're sat at a wedding and somebody starts telling you something that, oh, I have such and such business, or I am a doctor, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, and I did this, and I did that, you will walk away and think to yourself, wow, that person sounds really impressive. Their job seems really interesting and they seem really qualified. And if I need that person, maybe I'll give them a call. And sometimes you'll walk away and think to yourself, I don't believe that person. I think that person's talking complete nonsense. I don't even believe they are having, XYZ business. It's probably just a startup and they're just starting this idea. I don't believe that this is a well-established business. Have you ever been in that scenario where you go to a wedding, somebody says, yeah, I'm doing XYZ. I'm selling XYZ, or I've set up this business, and you think to yourself, probably just a startup, probably somebody just sitting in their bedroom in the evenings trying to get this going. They don't actually have a real business there. The question is this: why do we form that impression and opinion? Why? Why do you sometimes walk away thinking, that person sounds fascinating, that person sounds really skilled, I want to learn more about this person, they sound really credible? And why do you walk away sometimes thinking, I don't think this person really knows much? Why do we do that? Because we know from our own personal experience that when we have done something, so let's say, for instance, you are a gym fanatic, from your own personal experience, when you become skilled or adept or experienced in anything, in any walk of life, in any industry, that you are able to speak about that topic on a certain level. And when you speak about that topic on a certain level, you will be able to talk about that ecosystem in which somebody who is not skilled will not be able to. And somebody who cannot just bluff, you will get a sense that you wouldn't know that. You couldn't say that. If you were bluffing, you wouldn't be able to say. If you were imitating, you would not be able to come up with this point or this argument or this experience or this pain point or this misconception or this articulation, the articulation of the goal, of the solution, of the problems, any type of articulation. But you wouldn't be able to talk on that level if you did not have this experience, because we know that from our own first-hand experience. If I've never gone to the gym, right? I meet somebody at a wedding and they say they're a gym fanatic. If I now try to imitate that I also am a gym fanatic, how many points can I discuss? And sorry, this is the other key point. I have to be generic. So much creativity that I can come up with, irrespective of how intelligent I might be or creative I might be. If I've never stepped foot in a gym, there's just certain things cannot know. It's impossible to know. So what do? I stick to the generic points. I stay on what is obvious. These are two other aspects that you can see here. This is obvious. This is generic. These points anybody could come up with if they just have an internet connection. But then there's some things that you can only come up with if you have been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. If you have lived in the ecosystem. So anything that pertains to that ecosystem that can only come from working in that ecosystem is what you want to talk about, because that signals you've been there, done there, and got the t-shirt, because otherwise you wouldn't know that point. You wouldn't know those terminologies. You wouldn't know those experiences, whether they are client orientated, whether they are solution orientated, whether they are industry orientated. You simply could not have that knowledge and information if you had not been working in this area for, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And that's how we get to somebody who's very, very experienced. We say, you get a feeling, well, I myself might be a software engineer, but I couldn't know as much as this person unless I had 10 years of experience behind me. That's the iceberg analogy. So this is what is wrong here, right? I mean, I could get a 15-year-old business studies student at school, give them an internet connection, ask them to create a website, and they could come up with this copy. And that's how I know it's not credible and authoritative, because I can't really distinguish between generic points and something that is incredibly important and powerful and a misconception and something that I need to tell my audience. I can't talk about the hows. I can only talk about the promise. I can't talk about the whys. I can only make claims. I can't talk about the method or the methodologies. I can't explain how I get from A to B. I don't have the ability to do that. I can only talk about some grand vision or endpoint. I can only promise. This looks like a CV. That's the sixth point we can add to these service sections that are poor. They read like CVs. I have skills in Python, Java, VB.NET, Flex. Get your web and mobile apps developed, designed, and tested here by VE's IT experts. What does that mean? Nothing. That's just generic, completely generic. That is just saying you can build web and mobile applications and we can test them. That's all it's saying. From concept to support, which again, anybody who is a lay person knows that. You need a bit of support or researchers on Google for literally 5 minutes can pick this up. VE's mobile app developers can reduce your time to market. Again, everybody knows. A business studies student knows that there's time to market, that type of terminology. And with any project, it's not just technology. Time to market is with physical products too. So what is this telling me about your industry, about your ecosystem, about the projects you've delivered, about your experiences, about anything about the ecosystem? Nothing. This is telling me nothing. Zero. So the fact that you cannot talk about that ecosystem, like I said, to convey authority, to convey expertise, it can be anything. You can articulate a problem. You can articulate a method, a methodology. You can articulate a solution. You can articulate a principle. You can articulate an ecosystem. You can articulate training and development. You can approach this from any angle as long as it is relevant to the ecosystem. And obviously, of course, You then want to prioritize which are the points that are most impactful to this sector or industry or niche. Which of all these points of the ecosystem, then you want to rank them. But I think this is going to appeal to most customers because, hey, most clients are coming with this pain point or with this goal or with this misconception or with these type of projects. So then it's just a logical prioritization, not rocket science. So then you just pick that out. But start with points that are relevant to the ecosystem, not generic claims. Now, this is the interesting thing and where things might get a little bit confusing, but provided you are talking about something deeper and specific to the ecosystem, points, and let me re-emphasize and reinforce this, points that you can only come up with if you live in that ecosystem, not points you can come up with by doing 10 minutes of research on Google. The problem with these sections is that a business studies student, if I asked them to create a project and a website selling software development services, this is the content they would come out with. If I said, hey, you have 20 minutes to write this content, this is what they would produce. So that demonstrates why it's pseudo content, because it's something which it's a level of writing which is not experience based. Because if you were experienced, you would know not to make these points. Just like if I went to a doctor, or maybe a better example is a nutritionist. Right? Let's say if I booked a consultation with a nutritionist, I'm trying to get healthier, and the nutritionist started saying to me, you should reduce your sugar intake. I would sit there and say, well, I think most people know that. I don't need to pay you to tell me that. If you're just going to tell me generic points like eating a healthy diet is good for your health, I would say, are you a nutritionist? No. A nutritionist has to tell me something which you can only really know or understand if you have qualified as a nutritionist. So it's the same here. What do you know that has come from doing this day in, day out? That is what you want to share. Now let's look at some of these points and see the difference. You see, even something like this, build, secure, reliable, that's not so good, but obviously you can't have it 100%. There's going to be elements of generic, you're constructing, you're building up towards it. So look, I'm not a huge fan of this, the whole build, secure, reliable. Everybody's saying build, secure, reliable, but I'll let it pass because it's not always easy to just, make it that densely rich, although that is what we should be aiming for, and is where you can kind of more iterate off this and try and make it even better. But look at this, GDPR compliant, right? Now, this isn't a great point, but it's still better, right? If somebody was, starting a company from their bedroom tomorrow, why this works, even though it's not a great point, but why it's still better, far better than what we have on this page here. Why is this still so much better? Because if I start a company tomorrow, or I've worked with 5 clients over the last year and I have a small company, GDPR compliance will not be top of mind because I won't know that is a big pain point for customers. So this is why this works. Even though it's not a fantastic point, even though I think we can do better than this, it is a still relevant point. It points to you have spoken to 100 customers and clearly 20 customers or 30 customers are asking you about GDPR compliance. And hence it becomes relevant to the ecosystem. If I went and asked a business studies student, what is important for mobile application development clients? He would not be able to say GDPR compliance. Would not be able to say that. Would not be able to know that with Googling 5, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Would not be able to pick that up. That comes from doing the job over and over and over again, speaking to a lot of clients asking you the same point, and then you start thinking to yourself, hey, GDPR compliance is really important to this industry. It's really important to this ecosystem. I need to incorporate this into my marketing content so that people know that I know it's important to them. So now if I'm a customer from Europe, or if I'm a customer who's going to be launching my application in Europe, I'll think, okay, yeah, this is relevant. This is something that I want in a partner. And that now feels more credible and authoritative because that signals experience. It intuitively signals to me you've spoken to a lot of clients. Anyway, the other thing with this sentence is it's building up to something more. So although this is not necessarily the greatest points you can make, because it builds up to something more, that is also, sometimes that's just the way it falls and works. Build secure, reliable, and GDPR compliant iOS and Android apps that can collect and protect user data. That again is something which you would only be top of mind at the forefront of your thoughts if you have done this many, many times, and includes on-demand features like, now this is also good. order tracking, intelligent search, and recommendation systems. So, Tenamoy, gonna sound like I'm contradicting myself again. Because I understand you're building up to, you maybe need this sentence here to get to these points, which is fine. But I'm just trying to make the point that if this was just in isolation, if you just put a full stop there, it wouldn't be so great. Now the features, well, who knows what features are important, what features clients are looking for? An expert. So if we look at this again here, I'm not talking about anything specific. I'm not talking about the requirements. This is talking about the requirements that clients clearly have. This is what clients want built, but it's specific. It's not generic. A client has a requirement of building a beautiful mobile application, but it would be silly to talk about that. Talking about something micro and specific, like order tracking, intelligence, and recommendation systems, and in-app chat, is very specific, and hence why it works. Because again, I get a feeling that what is important to customers. You must have done this for customers to know what intelligent search is. At least that's the feeling I get. Is this absolute? Is this concrete? No, but nothing in marketing is. Yes, I still might be skeptical. Have they really done intelligent search? Have they just copied this off Google? Have they done a lot of research? That is possible, but it's eliciting a sense or feeling of authority, and that is all we can do in something as small as this. I cannot 100% convince you, nor are customers looking to be 100% convinced. Customers are just taking micro steps. So it's saying yes 10 times. So I start to get a feeling, hey, you seem authoritative. Let me fill up the form and speak to you. When I speak to you, I will now put you through another round of tests or assessments. So again, going into that perfectionist mold and debating this would be very naive and misses the point altogether, because our goal is not to resolutely, definitively convince you I have done intelligence search, because it's not possible, it's not feasible, it's too much to achieve in a couple of sentences. All I'm trying to do here is arouse a sense to put the idea in your mind that could this company or organization be highly qualified, to start getting them to ask that question. What I do not want the user to do is to look and say, they don't seem like an expert. You see, because once I form that impression and I take a step back, you've lost me. So I might definitively come to the conclusion that you are not good. But if I'm open-minded to the thought that you might be good, then I've achieved my goal in marketing. I've achieved my copy goal. Because that is all I need you to do, is take a micro step. I'm just asking you to be open to the possibility that I'm an expert, which is not absolute, but that's fine. But what I do not absolutely want is for you to walk away and think they don't seem credible. Once I've formed that impression, it's definitive, and I walk away. So, there's a asymmetry occurring there. The asymmetry is that I can overwhelmingly make you feel that I am not good, then I'm totally out of the picture. But as long as I arouse some sense or signal or create an open-mindedness to the prospect that you might be good, then even though that is not definitive, it's still more than good enough. That is all marketing is trying to achieve online, and then get you to make that next step. Now, continue, or minimize investment costs with a hybrid app from a single code base that runs on any mobile operating system. That is fantastic. That sentence there is fantastic. You have to know your stuff to say that. It's actually very, very simple when you really start to deconstruct this all and decode it. Only an expert could say that. The teams or mobile app developers, for years, I wouldn't know to say this. I wouldn't think to say this. I wouldn't be able to think to say this. That is fundamentally what the difference is. If we go to software development, with our signature focus on stability and security, will build market-ready SaaS products from scratch. I didn't really like this sentence, Tenamoy. And these are like how there's opportunities where I think we can do even better with this. You can go one notch higher. Or re-engineer your legacy application by upgrading the old stack. That, again, is something which only somebody experienced would think to say. You wouldn't be able to think to say this if you didn't have that experience. You wouldn't think to say re-engineering. So this is still vastly superior, because good enough software is never good enough for us or your business. That's okay. That's very sales type lingos. It's okay. But again, I think we could probably do better there. From low fidelity design to pixel perfect mockups, VE designers combine human empathy and data-driven UX to make your digital product even more engaging. Achieve a page view session that lasts 10 seconds or longer with clever UX design, clear content hierarchies, and easy navigation. Team, who can anybody say to me that is not authoritative? This absolutely nails it. If you go and look on most web and graphic design companies' websites, are they talking about low fidelity and pixel per? This just screams and shouts. This just reads so seamlessly, right? I read this and I'm sold. I'm like, wow, you really know yourself, the feeling that you need to arouse and create. Look how good this is. I don't even know if I need to talk anymore about it. You should be getting that feeling and impression just by reading this. Do you not get that feeling and impression? Do you sit there and think, oh, no, that's an imitation? Or, and like I said, don't go into that game of this does not definitively and absolutely confirm. That's nonsensical. This is not a debate. We are not in a court of law trying to conclusively determine something. This is not a theoretical debate. That is not what marketing is. Marketing is arousing an impression, a feeling, a thought, an open-mindedness. Does this achieve that? Do you read this and think, I'm definitely open-minded to the fact that they know their stuff? If yes, then you've achieved your goal. Whereas this just makes you conclude, I don't think they know anything. Because why would you make these generic points that anybody could make if you were an expert? That's all. That's the barrier we're trying to cross. Now read this. Optimize your website to rank higher on Google. I don't like that. And it's something which everybody says. But let's continue reading. Target a warm audience to increase your Facebook ROAS, increase your followers by fixing Instagram shadow ban, or even reactivate a suspended Google account. Get the full suite of digital marketing services under one roof and get more eyes on your website content or campaign. Not a huge fan of that last sentence. I appreciate that at times you need to have this to synthesize the sentences. We can't always have just overwhelming authoritative points. Sometimes to, formulate the sentence, you have to incorporate some generic points. So this, okay, although this, everybody kind of says this and everybody kind of says this, but this is fine as well. Why is this fine? Because you're saying, what you're really saying here, Tanmo, is optimize your website to rank higher on Google, which kind of implicitly is just kind of making a broad, digital marketing point. But then you go into kind of like how we do things, the methods we use. We target a warm audience, which is specific, to increase your Facebook ROAS, which again is this is a specific point on digital marketing, right? Increase your followers by fixing an Instagram shadow ban, because this is a problem a lot of clients come to us with. The fact that I'm talking about shadow ban means I'm not somebody who has a lot of experience with Instagram as a user and thinks, hey, I'll set up a digital marketing company or social media company. I wouldn't know this. Again, this comes from experience. Authoritative content in many respects, again, is quite simple because it's the content that can only come from experience. The points you would make only if you've been to the gym for a year. What are those conversation points as opposed to the points I would make if I've never stepped foot in a gym? If I've never stepped foot in a gym, straight away, there's not many places I can go, right? There's not many things like that come to mind. But if I've been to the gym for a year, I might say something along the lines of, oh, I prefer old school equipment to the new stuff. And somebody who's a gym goer is going to know exactly what that means. Somebody who's not a gym goer will think that Sean sounds like a gym goer. Because you would never think to say something like that. So if I said, yeah, I don't like all this, new high-techy and overly pretentious gym equipment. I like that old school Ronnie Coleman style type, and people will know what that means. And then I could go deeper into that as well. So then I could go into the biomechanics. I actually do believe that a lot of new gym equipment is not optimal actually for your biomechanics. Like, for some reason, I find that older gym equipment, it was easier to really get a mind-muscle connection and to really kind of stretch out the exercise and to get a better squeeze as you're doing those engagements. So a really good example of that is the lat pull down. I find the new machines and equipment very uncomfortable. I don't feel I can get into a nice position. I don't feel I get a nice squeeze and a nice pump when I'm doing those lifting, when I'm pulling back. I don't feel comfortable in that equipment. But when I go back 10 years, the equipment that I used at my gym there, it genuinely felt better. It might not be as shiny and as nice. Now, and guess what? I actually had this conversation with somebody a couple of months ago, and they were like, yeah, I totally get it. And I was like, I'm leaving the gym because I don't like the new equipment. They've spent $1 million or pounds getting this new equipment, and I don't like it. That comes from gym experience, right? So, verse engineer team, you have to ask, could you ask whether you could only make these points if you have been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. That's simply what authoritative content is. It really is not rocket science. Shadow banning, that is something which you have worked on this, and hence why you've incorporated it. And yes, I can be super skeptical and think, no, you've maybe done 10 hours of research on the internet, but we can't attain a higher level than this with a few sentences. So let's not worry ourselves with that. And if somebody thinks that, that's fine, because there'll be plenty of customers who will think this seems far more relevant, far more specific. They are talking about points that other companies are not. They are highlighting areas that maybe I need to be cognizant of. What is an Instagram shadow ban? Hey, I have like 1 million followers on Instagram. I don't want to lose that. These are the type of experts that I want to work with. Or even reactivate a suspended Google account. Okay, this one was really good as well. Prevent your business from negative cash flow, identify top debtors, bring down reconciliation errors to zero, and track promise to pay and escalations better with easy to understand reporting. Stay compliant with evolving tax rules with V's experts, aka your financial. This is another excellent one. This one and these two were really excellent. To me, this is just like, and again, it's simple. It's not hard, it's simple. You have just gone and this is just reverse engineering all the pain points customers have and their goals, right? But they're specific. So this is the other key point. So earlier I made the point that don't talk about claims or promises, but this is the exception. If those claims and promises are specific and not generic and highly relevant to the ecosystem, then a promise or a goal can work, because to know those specific goals of customers, you have to have spoken to many customers. So this is where, again, things get a little bit messy, because you might look at this and say, oh, this is a claim, this is a promise. Yes, but it's a specific claim. It's a claim that you would only make if you knew that this was important to customers, and you only know what's important to customers if you've been talking to customers for a year or two. So you are making a promise here that you will identify top debtors, but it's not generic. That's not generic. And hence why this works. It might be a claim, it might be a promise, but it's also specific to the ecosystem. This is an ecosystem point. That's the exception to the rule. So actually what you've done here, Tanmoy, is with each piece, you've actually taken different approaches. And that's what's so good and interesting and powerful about this as an example, is that you're taking to achieve that goal of subject matter expertise and authority. Each section is using different tools. Right. In some respects, like if you look at the digital marketing one, you're talking more about the hows, how you're going to do digital marketing for me. In this one, you're talking about pain points. In another one, you might talk about why you do something. Why are you using a certain method or a certain principle or a certain strategy? That also conveys. So subject matter expertise can be achieved through a variety of methods and techniques. But the key point is the overwhelming underlying principle is that it's not easily imitatable content. Yes, it can be imitated if you put a lot of effort and do a lot of research. Okay, that's a different point, but it's not easily imitatable. This is very easily imitatable. I can go to a couple of other companies, see what they're saying, copy paste it, and I get something like this. But because most companies are not talking about these points, I'm not easily going to find this content. Now, let's read this one. Rank higher on Google with research-driven content optimized for humans. I didn't really like this. You see, again, we always have a very strong marketing twist on things team. Here in content, here in web and design, here in web development. We can take a different approach with content. We can talk about engageability, right? How engaging is your content? How interesting is your content? How readable is your content? We don't always have to come from that marketing angle. But anyway, that's fine. Let's not go into that for now. Our industry expert content team writes original content that tells a compelling story. Okay, that's good. And sorry, that's the other aspect to it as well, team. In some respects, everything is relative. Well, not in some respects, in every respect, everything is relative, right? So the other thing is you don't always need to be the absolute best. So we can sometimes pick faults and holes in our work. What is important is to be better than everyone else. If everybody else is terrible, and so let's say they are operating at grade F and we are operating at grade C, then in some respects you win the race by default, right? You didn't an A grade student, but you still win the race. Because if your competitors are not talking about telling a compelling story, so even though for us and our standards, I don't think this is good, I still think it's good because it's better than what I know most other companies are talking about or writing. So in that respect, you can still win as well, if that makes sense. So just think about that. Our industry experts content team writes original content, tells a compelling story, focuses on benefits over features. That's good. That is good. It's simple for us, but believe me, a lot of people would never think to say that. And this is something which Non-content writers simply don't know. Even a lot of content writers don't know this. Benefits over features. Honestly, they don't. And utilizes persuasion techniques that move readers to fill out a form, click on a CTA, or even buy a product. Overall, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. This one was good as well. Busy founders like you need a fast and dependable wingman. And we'll give you one who speaks your language, works in your time zone, manages your calendar, and takes care of energy zapping tasks. See, now you've taken a different approach here as well. This is kind of like an FAQs approach, which is still better than what we presently have. I think, Tanamo, you could do even better than this, specifically for virtual assistants, because VA is a absolute treasure trove of insight points to be made. And we have a treasure trove of insights as well. So I think you could do better than this, even more specific and relevant, but this is still good. Because these are probably the questions a lot of clients, I know a lot of questions are asking questions like this, like, can they manage my calendar? Will they work in my time zone? And that's really clever as well, speaks your language. That's really good content. That's actually really, really good content because it really well resonates with how a lot of clients are probably articulating the problem in their mind, right? I mean, one phrase that I've seen a lot of clients make over the years is, I just need a VA who has common sense. That's one. And this is, I bet you this is another one. Either they're thinking it, implicitly feel it, or they are explicitly saying it, that I just need somebody who speaks my language. That's a phrase you see a lot of decision makers say, right? And that's specifically relevant to virtual assistants because it's your right-hand person, right? So in VA, saying this, somebody that speaks my language, is kind of putting to that point of common sense, somebody who gets me, somebody who I'm on the same wavelength as. These are the type of phrases people use when they're talking about business in general, and specifically somebody that's going to be my right-hand person, and hence virtual assistant. So that's fantastic. Can you see, team, how small tweaks in content make a world of difference? Are game changers. Like, somebody will read this and be like, honestly, look, I don't think, so this is a challenge I'll put to you, team, right? If anybody is skeptical of this approach, go and look at all the VA companies in the world. Actually, sorry, before I get into that, let's start with this. Do you believe that in many of our decision makers' minds, they will be articulating the problem in this respect? Do you believe that? Clients will sit there and say, they might not explicitly be using these precise words, but will be formulating the problem in their mind in this respect of saying, I need a personal assistant that speaks my language. Do you believe that is likely something that is at the forefront of clients that are looking to hire VA? Do you agree with that? If yes, if you believe that is something which resonates with clients, then my next question to you is, or challenge rather, is go and see if any VA company in the world is using this type of phrase or terminology. Do that as a test. If they are not, what that means is that we are resonating with our customer better than our competitors, right? Because if I've articulated and formulated something in my mind that this is my challenge, this is my problem, this is what I'm uncomfortable with, this is what I'm not happy about, and everybody else is not talking about that, and I've gone and said, hey, decision maker, this is what you're really unhappy about. What am I going to turn around and say, you get it, finally you get it. And then intuitively I understand, why do you get it? You get it because you've been there, done there, and got the t-shirt. You don't get it because this is something you've magically thought up off on the top of your head. Sometimes we can do that. Sometimes, yes, you can do that. But that's not the conclusion I'm going to come to. I see you've been in business for 16 years. I see all these testimonials. I see this massive office. Then I see you somehow magically reading my mind and knowing what the frustrations I've had. I've worked with previous companies. They didn't have common sense. They didn't speak my language. They weren't on my same wavelength. Now you go and spell all that out back to me. Hey, you must have worked with a lot of clients like me. Do you see how this works? Do you see how this all connects? How you resonate with your user? When I'm nodding my head, I'm saying you've literally taken the words out of my mouth. That is what real content is all about. So this is good. This is excellent, excellent, excellent content, Tanamoy. Then you've listed a couple of FAQs from processing to getting qualified cold calls. So I still think you can do better than this. This I would say is like C/B. You can do better than this, but it's still good. It's still far superior to what we had on our old pages. Our team of highly qualified and experienced writers can write engage. See, it's so circular, right? This is the seventh mistake that people make with services. It's always a circular argument. So it goes, it starts off with, I can do something really amazing for you. Because I can do something really amazing for you, hire us. Right? So it's a circular reasoning, circular content. Do we have VA here? Okay, we don't. Sales and digital marketing. See, it's the same mistakes again and again and again and again and again. Our team of data entry experts takes this time-consuming work out of you, which is, oh wow, who does a 10-year-old child not know that data entry is time-consuming, and helps you make a sense of huge amounts of data. Team, can you see where I'm coming from? Can you see where I'm coming from? Now, let's look at this data entry here. Let's look at this here. Data entry isn't a typing job anymore. That is excellent. That is excellent. Again, to the untrained eye, you might not be able to see why this is excellent. But this is excellent because it perfectly summarizes the big misconception of that industry, which is that data entry is just about copy paste or typing. This is such excellent work, Tanamoy, right? Because you have succinctly captured one of the really big misconceptions. And I think a lot of clients will understand this as well. Again, the client's going to nod and say, you've hit the nail on the head. You've hit the real problem, the essence of what I am struggling with, which is that I don't need people just to copy paste or type punch in a bunch of numbers anymore. The industry has moved on from that. It's changed, it's become more complex, it's become more challenging. It's not as simple as that. The fact that you know it's not as simple as that, what does that point to? Because you're working on projects which are not as simple as that. Because you're working on projects, you know that. Somebody who's not working on projects, a mom and pop shop that starts a business tomorrow won't know this. They will just think data entry is a copy paste job, and hence why they started the business. But what's even better with this, Tanamoy, is then you go on to explain or give a sense of why data entry is not a typing job anymore. From validating data, validation is really key. Documenting confidential civil and legal records. This immediately points to how more complicated the assignments we get are than just pure punching in numbers. And adding meaningful labels to images, videos, text. This is excellent. Audio files for machine learning. Data entry is not just a typing job anymore because machine learning is far more elaborate than that. You get something wrong, it's going to completely take you off course. And look at this, you've really, really thought this through. VA data entry experts are taking up the tedious task best done by humans. You're pointing to the fact that this cannot always be automated. You know that some data entry tasks cannot always be automated. Who would know that? Who would know, like, to the untrained person like me, I might think, oh, can't you just automate it all now? Or some others might know that. But a client who's got a project who knows that this can't be automated now knows that you also know that, and you also know that because you've been there, done there, got the t-shirt. See how this all connects and works. This is excellent, Tanamoy. You have thought this through so well. I could not have done this. You've done it in some of these sections. The amount of effort you must have put in to synthesize all this, to connect all these dots. This is what if you go back to earlier feedback team, what do I talk about? Connecting the dots. Content and marketing is about connecting dots, bringing it all together. This is the perfect loop. See how perfectly Tanamoy sets this up. Data entry isn't a typing job anymore. He's opening it up there. Data entry is more than what you think it is. That single sentence says a lot. But anyway, he opens it up. Then he goes on to explain why it's not. And then he seals it off with these type of projects cannot be done by, let's say, AI. It has to be done by humans. So he brings it fully back, because if it was something that could be automated by AI, then it would just be a typing job. Do you see that, team? Let's look at, I'm always scared to tamper with the file. I was going to search for the keyword empathy, but actually, because a lot of times the recordings fail or crash, so I don't want to do that. Here we go. Sorry, we did cover that. IT outsourcing. Now look at this. We offer comprehensive IT solutions ranging from website creation to custom software development. So take out IT services because we offer more services. Now look at this. Going global or starting up. You need an IT outsourcing partner who can work in lockstep with you. This is okay. V offers that kind of partnership, developing full cycle applications, maintaining your IT infrastructure, or co-creating a lift and shift cloud migration strategy. You see how even a little bit goes so far. I read that and just think, okay, this is specific. This is relevant. I'm open to the possibility that you've done this. And as soon as I'm open to that possibility, you have achieved your goal. Your job is not to sell the customer. That is not your job. You cannot sell the customer. It's impossible. That would be a delusional goal to try and achieve here. Your job is to get me to fill up the form. The sales happens over many steps and it happens offline. Now, I'm asking the question, okay, you can do a lift and shift cloud migration strategy. Let me speak to you and let me ask you some more questions about how you did it, when you did it, the examples you can give. That's where now the selling happens. We marketers are not in the business. Okay, if you have a B2C product selling on, that's a different kettle of fish. But this, our goal is all about, our job is nudging. We're in the nudge business. We're nudging you closer and closer and closer. And fundamentally as well, team, we don't want to think of marketing as this magic pill as well. Our experts have to speak to the customers and do a lot of the heavy lifting. Because if they can't answer the client's questions, it doesn't matter how brilliant your content and marketing is, you're not going to sell. Right? So that's why we're not in the selling business. We are in the nudging business. And this just makes me think, and now, okay, obviously I'm not an expert in cloud, so I don't know if this is actually, I could be in that respect wrong on it. But let's just assume that this is a relevant and important point. Now I'm open to the fact that you have these capabilities because they are specific. They are not saying to me something nonsensical like website and software development. This is actually talking about specific projects and goals related to IT. I'm now open to that, and now I want to really assess your capabilities on this. So yeah, team, there you have it. I mean, this is really fantastic. Animation, build screen-based or AR games with more physical interactions using. This is really good because again, you're demonstrating how you build the AR games using Unreal Engine 5, Unity, Mars, Blender. So the difference between this and this, where we were before, right? The other one is chest thumping, just saying, I have all these skills. Hire me because I've shared my resume with you. And this is explaining your skills, but it's linking it to something, a specific goal. You're demonstrating how these skills help you achieve this specific goal of building AR VR games. Create immersive 2D, 3D animated content and explainer videos and give your ideas. And I love this. See, this is where Tanamo, you've just gone above and beyond. Honestly, you've just gone way above and beyond. That cinematic punch. This is, you see, one of the really great techniques we can use in content is use the customer's words back at them. And when I say use the customer's words back at them, I don't mean just the explicit words. There's the terms and phrases that clients are explicitly saying, but then there's the feelings that are implicit, and implicitly, even if clients aren't explicitly calling us up and saying, I want to explain a videos with the cinematic punch, implicitly they might be feeling this and thinking this. They might not be articulating it in those words. A feeling is not always articulated into explicit words, right? If we ask ourselves, what is that feeling? What is that sentiment that the client has? What would this look like in words? It would be this, the cinematic punch. This really shows you understand what your customer is trying to achieve. For your viewers without animation and multimedia experts, and that can just transform the power of your content.